Hi, I'm Susan from King's Nursery, and I'm here today to show you how to force bulbs into bloom, which is one of our favorite things to do at this time of year because you can get bulbs to bloom in the winter, which is always, it's not their season, but it works nicely to have flowers in your house for the holidays, and you can do that. You do it by tricking them into thinking it's spring, even though it's winter. So one of the simplest things to force is paper white narcissus. Lots of people do them. They have a wonderful fragrance that will fill your house in Christmas time, and they'll grow in any vessel that will hold water. So I've chosen a glass vase, but you could do them in a little skinny little vase like so. We've put them in plastic lined baskets. Almost anything that will hold water will make a nice vase for paper white narcissus. So you have to put a little something below them. It could be rocks or beach glass or sand. So I just set them in there like that, and then the bulbs are going to sit right on top. 4 paper whites. Each bulb should give you 2 or even 3 stalks of flowers, and you'll be able to have a pretty bouquet of flowers in the middle of winter. What you do next is important. You'll fill the bottom of the jar with water just to the bottom of the bulb. There's a little collar where the roots come out, and that needs to be underwater just ever so slightly. Then this is the part where you fool them into thinking it's winter. You put the whole thing in the refrigerator with the water and the bulbs and take it out about 4 weeks later. The deadline, more or less, to get flowers for Christmas is Thanksgiving. So if you put the vase in the refrigerator, you want to have it out by Thanksgiving to get Christmas flowers. So I've got my vase planted, and I'm going to fill it up with water and right to the bottom of the bulbs. And then I get to put this whole thing in the refrigerator, and it's right to the right spot. The water may evaporate a bit over the course of the month, but you can fill it up once or twice, and seems sort of unpromising. But here's one that we did in a shallower bowl, and we did this 3 weeks ago, and you can see that the plants have grown, and there's all sorts of roots here in the bottom in the rocks, and this is well on its way to being a lovely bowl of paper whites in maybe 3 weeks. However, sometimes in these short bowls the stems get too tall, and there's a special process that we practice that works really well, and it's called ginning up your paper whites. So to gin up your paper whites, you would use gin if you were feeling frisky, or rubbing alcohol, which has enough alcohol to slow down the growth. You mix it 1 part rubbing alcohol to 10 parts water. You drain off the water that they've been growing in during the first couple weeks and replace it with that 1 part alcohol, 10 parts water mixture. And that's what you continue to water them with as they grow. You'll find that they go through a lot of water as they're growing, but it's speculated, they've done some university research, and it's speculated that the alcohol in the water slows the growth rate just enough so that the stems are strong and not floppy. Another fun bulb to force is the hyacinth. They come in pretty colors, blues and whites and pinks, and they have intensely fragrant flowers, generally early in the spring, but you can force them to bloom much earlier. We've done these already in little jars, and you can see that after just a couple of weeks the roots have started and they're on their way. This little bulb is awake and growing. When we do them in the jars, it couldn't be easier. It really couldn't. You fill the jar with water and put the bulb in, just getting the bottom in wet again, the little collar that's at the bottom, and you put the whole thing in the refrigerator. You can even just put them in the door like a condiment. Leave them there for 3 or 4 weeks. You'll start to see the roots growing right in the refridge. Take them out and grow them in a nice bright spot. Like you might a houseplant, maybe not too warm, not by the heater. Just like paper white narcissus, you want them in a nice bright spot so that they can grow and bloom. This one's ready to go in the fridge. These have been there for 3 weeks. You can even choose some fun bulbs to work with. These caught my eye at the thrift shop because it's just big enough. It's going to hold I chose these. These are really interesting ones. These Hyacinth are double Hyacinth. So they have extra row of petals. Sometimes people ask us, pointed end up. It's amazing, but that's important. Pointed end up, that's where the leaves are going to emerge, and then the flowers. And I'm going to give them a little push in there and then put some water. So it looks a little plain at this point. Once they grow a bit, you can dress it with some pretty beach glass or decorative petals, but they would go on top to kind of anchor the bulbs as well. And again, this whole thing goes in the refrigerator for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. You're fooling it into thinking that it's winter, and then when it comes out, it thinks it's spring. So the bulbs are fooled. You give them a real short winter instead of a long winter. They don't know the difference, and they bloom sooner. Then when it's in bloom, maybe even around Valentine's Day, you can give it as a pretty gift. One of the showiest bulbs to force in the winter is Amaryllis, starting with the fact that the bulb is enormous and is very impressive. Then they produce long stalks of red, pink, and white flowers in the middle of winter, and make a great Christmas decoration if you start them very early, or a great Christmas gift for early spring bloom. So they're easy to grow, but you do grow them in soil instead of rocks or sand that the Amaryllis, the paper whites and Hyacinth grow in. I'm just using some regular potting soil, and my pot has drainage but a little saucer, so that helps. I've filled it up part way with the soil, and then I'm going to put my bulb in, and I want the roots to be in the soil, but I want at least 1/3 of the bulb to remain above the pot. And a little bit more, and it's planted. With an Amaryllis, you would water it in as you were, the first time you watered it, you would water it thoroughly, and then you would probably try and let the soil dry out. Maybe water it once a week until the sprouts start. Actually, if you look really carefully at this one, you can see the beginnings of the leaves starting to emerge. So in another 3 weeks, those leaves will start. You might get a flower stalk first, or you might just get some leaves and then a flower stalk, but soon they will be growing. At that point, once it actually grows, then you would water it a bit more, maybe twice a week. We actually don't just always do them plain. Check this one out. This fellow is actually starting to grow already, but instead of just having a pot, an empty pot with a bulb, we put some other fun things in here. This is a little fern. This is some ivy. This actually makes a great gift for people because it's not just a pot of dirt with a bulb hanging out of it. It's a little more decorative, and then when the flower comes and blooms 18, 20 inches above these leaves, it's really striking. Put a little bow on there, and there's your Christmas gift. Somebody special will really appreciate it. Okay. We've gathered some of the pots that we did today, starting with the Hyacinth, and then the paper white Narcissus, finishing with the Amaryllis. These are all bulbs that force so beautifully and make great gifts as well. Then there are some photos of the actual flowers behind, because you have to use such imagination when it comes down to bulbs. We wanted to let you know what you'd be making here. If you need some more ideas, come down to King's Nursery. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.